Welcome to the Insurance Marketing Organization podcast, where financial services marketing expert Seth Green interviews IMO experts, executives, and top producers to share can't-miss tips on how they successfully manage their IMOs, grow their businesses, create great relationships, and influence the industry. And now, here's your host, Seth Green.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Green. Today, I've got the good fortune to be interviewing Dave Cliche, President and CEO of TMD. He is TMD's lead for all insurance clients, played a significant role in the development of strategy and implementation of solutions for organizations in Canada, the US, and the UK, including AIG, Marsh, Liberty, Markel, Aviva, Euler, Hermes, and Transamerica. Dave, thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to be here, Seth. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So let's go back in time a little bit. How did you get started? How'd you get in the business?
I don't know that anyone ever destines himself to wind up in this business, but I started off my career on the life and health side of the insurance industry. Moved over to the P&C side after a little while, so actually working for a couple of carriers. When I went to the P&C side, I joined Aon. Began to lead their marketing for Canada, gradually sort of worked my way into a global interactive role where I started doing, a lot of work with their digital properties and spent a lot of time working with counterparts across North America, but into EMEA and APAC as well. Spent about 15 years on the corporate side doing that type of work. It was fantastic work, had a chance to work with some great organizations, some great brands, do some really good work. And then I wound up coming into the agency side, and I give my 6 years old at the time, I give my son credit for sort of helping me make that career shift. I was coming home late, I think as a lot of us do sometimes, and I was apologizing for being late for dinner. And my son, like I said, who was 6 at the time, with only the clarity that a 6-year-old can come up with, he just said, "Dad, why don't you just get a job at the grocery store down on the corner and you'd be home for dinner?" So, it really struck home with me. And then I realized, what it was that I really had to think about, what it was that I loved about my job and what I was doing. And spending time on an airplane away from my family wasn't what it was all about. So I went in the next day and I resigned.
Wow, that's fast implementation, and congratulations on that.
Yeah, it was one of those, emotional, not rational. It became rational afterwards. But yeah, it was one of those moments where I think we all get those at one point in our career. I found this great little agency that, right in the town that I worked in. My commute is about 7 minutes, and that's if I stop and grab coffee. So I was recovering a lot of time with my family, which was really good. Dynamite little agency here, TMD. And then went to work on developing, just based on my experience and my background, developing that sort of insurance-focused practice group inside the agency. And since then, the brands that you've mentioned, we've had the great fortune of working with many of those and others, and have really started to laser focus our abilities to deliver value into that segment. And here we are.
I know that's the short version of the story. The long version should probably be in a book somewhere if it isn't already. So tell our folks watching and listening, what does TMD do?
So TMD isn't a typical agency. We like to think of ourselves really as an extension of our client's business. We built an engagement model that leverages the name. So the marketing department, it's in our name. The model is really focused on partnering with those organizations, insurance specific, that either don't have the arms and legs to do a lot of the heavy lifting. A lot of organizations are putting a lot of pressure on folks to deliver a lot of value without the resources that they need. So we've built a model that allows us to partner up, either act as an extension of an existing team, or to be that team if in fact they don't have it. And then bring all of those integrated components that we have resident here at the agency, which is, we are a fully integrated shop, full creative, digital, social, content, strong focus on the customer experience and journey mapping, CRM, working with Salesforce.com. So like the ability really for us to partner up and be that true extension of any brand. But, our insurance practice group really is starting to leverage all of those components and how we deliver value to those partners.
All right. So we could spend the whole time unpacking just that. We won't, but at the marketing department. So talk a little bit about who those clients are, and then we'll talk about how you're moving the needle for them so much.
Yeah, We deal with a variety of different clients inside that industry. So we are right now heavily focused on the property and casualty, so the P&C side of the business. We work in partnership with brokers, with carriers, with MGAs, all very, very connected in how they work to serve clients inside that industry. We're getting involved at a very strategic level so that we're able to participate and really support the development of strategy, go-to-market strategy. As I'm sure your listeners and you are aware of, that could be very product specific, could be very industry or segment or strata specific, really depending on where they need us to be. The team that we've built on our side comes from that brand side. So we have all spent time at a carrier or at a broker, appreciate what the mechanics are there. We appreciate the dynamic relationship that exists between a broker and a carrier, and then ultimately the client. So really, being able to partner with those brands, understand those challenges within those specific industries, how product and differentiated value props inside that industry can have an impact, and then building what that execution or what that support plan looks like so that we can actually take those brands to market in an effective way that delivers some results.
Awesome. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that brands like that make when it comes to their strategy to accomplish the growth they're looking for? What are you seeing going, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. We can help them fix that.
Yeah, there's two things that jump out just as you're saying that. I mean, I guess the first thing is not recognizing that growth is really the result of an integrated effort, right? So results don't happen by chance. They're deliberately planned for. They have to be pursued with purpose. Trying to assemble tactical executions. So, if you're a marketer inside these organizations and you're getting pelted with requests from all over the place to get stuff done and to check boxes off a list, the ability to see some real return and see that performance actually have a positive impact on the business is severely limited or mitigated. So growth is the result of a fully integrated, holistic effort. And maybe the other thing, and this is coming up more and more, the more conversations that we have, is like the distinction between B2B and B2C. It is really disappearing. Like it is, you are very quickly inside these channels, especially on the commercial side, where we spend most of our time. It's B2B2C at a bare minimum. So, working with a carrier that is, distributing through a broker, ultimately to a client or an economic buyer, recognizing that brand needs to be able to stand that ultimate extension through that distribution network. And then, whether it's the broker or the carrier, in this case, they have accountability for that brand's performance and the experience that they deliver right through that entire process. So really, I think not looking at the entire journey or the entire extent of what that distribution looks like, and recognizing that they need to deliver value at every single one of those touch points, whether it's the ultimate economic buyer or whether it's a distribution partner.
And then what does that look like when it works? I mean, you have a shoebox full of case studies of how this impacts the brand and the consumer on the way down. When it works, when you do it right. Can you give us an example of, hey, this is one of those brands we worked with. This is what they came to us with. And this is what the magical transformation looked like when we worked our magic.
Yeah, absolutely. So we worked with a large financial services brand in the United States. They asked us to come on and work with a business unit that they were just, starting to stand up. And it was they were really concerned with how they were closing business. They had another part of their organization or their brand that was actually delivering leads to this unit. So it was an upsell or a cross-sell opportunity that they're trying to maximize. We were able to come in and have a conversation with them. And sometimes it's just that objective view, right? So that ability to come into a brand, and if you stare at something long enough, you lose the ability to see it for what it actually is. We leverage some of our customer experience journey mapping expertise, and we sort of map the experience and say, okay, well, let's understand what's happened to these opportunities as they come into your business unit. Where are we losing them? And we were able to really identify where the conversion was dropping off, where they were not being able to take the lead from one part of the process to the next, whether it was through the application process, whether it was through the education and the awareness process, and ultimately getting them to a place where they can close and convert. We went through this process with them, helped them identify where some of the challenges, where could marketing and where could communications actually have a positive impact on conversion at the right moments with the information that mattered most. And in this particular case, we were able to help them, resolve some of their conversion issues, and the impact over a couple of quarters was about $12 million. So the ability for us to deliver real tangible value by not only just understanding the issue, like the industry and what the client is trying to needs to accomplish in order to do what the brand needs it to do, but being able to bring good, effective marketing counsel and insight to a point where we can close a gap and make it result in a tangible number.
That is fantastic. With all the success you've been able to achieve and you're home for dinner, what's your biggest challenge now?
Well, we're coming off, depend on your perspective, we're coming off a pandemic. We're extending the tail of the pandemic a little bit. But I think what we're seeing and the challenge that we're going to have to embrace going forward is that in this industry, but certainly like there is in other industries, the clients that a broker or a carrier deals with, those commercial clients, their business models have changed, some quite significantly. They've been forced to pivot rather harshly. They've been forced to embrace, whether it's online or e-commerce or other mechanisms for them to maintain their customer base and their ability to deliver products and services. Those business models have changed. They've shifted. From an insurance perspective, the risk has changed for those business owners or for those organizations that they're trying to deliver value to. So the biggest challenge is going to be differentiating and trying to come up with the why, that difference for why them over somebody else. We already know that this industry is heavily commoditized, but that coming up with that why, it's not just service. It's not just a good experience. It's how can those carriers or brokers adapt to the constantly changing environments that their clients are trying to struggle their way through so that they continue to be successful. Real partnership, I think, has a different meaning now. It requires a little bit more than just a product and a good premium. I think it really does require an investment in that client's continued success. If that happens, the premiums will continue to flow. But if that client struggles and goes out of business, I think there's aspects of books of business that are really struggling with that right now.
I think you're absolutely right. Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing now?
I love solving problems, man. It's not just about delivering a tactical component, whether it's, an ad or it's a campaign or it's a piece of content. What I love about my job is being able to, and I think it's that experience and that knowledge that we build up the longer we work in a particular industry or a particular segment, the value that has to a partner, the value that has when you can bring those insights to bear and really have an impact on a positive outcome to whatever problem, whatever challenge is that they're trying to address. What I love about my job is when something works and you're able to see tangible results, like the example we just talked about. So like when we can actually put money back on the table, we can actually recover premium, when we can lower acquisition costs, when we can strip out some of the cost on a good, effective retention strategy, that all has significant value to the bottom line of the client. And if we do that well, we've done our job.
Amen to that. For our folks watching or listening who want to learn more, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about TMD and all things Dave?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they want all things Dave, but tmd.ca. So we are up in Canada. tmd.ca will give you a sense of what we're all about. And I love your show, Seth. So thanks for having me on. But we have ours as well. So it's TMD on the Record, which can be found on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if anyone wants to check it out. And we're really just talking about the relationships between brands and their customers. And what we do for our insurance clients is very much the same. Try to bring them a little bit closer together.
Beautiful. This has been Seth Green with Dave Cliche of tmd.ca, the marketing department. Dave, thanks so much for joining us.
Seth, an absolute pleasure. Great discussion. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.